Well, I am actually very surprised that we're finally getting Call of Duty on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is frankly a long time coming. For those of you who are unaware, Microsoft and Nintendo signed a 10-year deal in a way back during when Microsoft was trying to acquire Activision Blizzard, basically confirming that Nintendo will get the next 10 years worth of Call of Duties, or a planned promise. It was very open-ended to interpretation, and that was mainly to stave off the FTC and any other compliance bodies that may restrict the sale due to the potential that Microsoft might completely lock down the franchise, preventing it from going anywhere else. And at the time, Microsoft promised to keep it multi-platform and keep it on PlayStation as well, and even committed to that promise by doing that Nintendo deal. But that was almost 4 or 5 years ago at this point, and really nothing came out of that deal, and it supposedly had to deal with, the actual raw performance of the Switch 1, leading them to never actually putting anything on it. I was always a strong advocate of maybe backporting an older Call of Duty, maybe one from the 360 days, or even doing something with like COD Mobile coming to the platform, but unfortunately nothing really came of it. The Switch in overall just always had a lack of quality first-person shooters. We had games like Warface, we have Overwatch, and all those other Overwatch knockoffs on the Switch platform, but we never really had a good, gritty first-person shooter. I don't even think we ever got like Rainbow Six, even though I think that could run on a freaking toaster. So it would have been actually kind of cool to see it on Switch. But I don't really think there was ever a good time to bring Call of Duty to the Switch, because Nintendo generally is not super plussed by the idea of having those gritty, violent games. But with the Switch 2's more hardcore gamer aesthetic and seeing the kind of games that they were showing off at launch, like Elden Ring, which I will be making a separate video on because it finally got a release date and I want to talk a lot about it, but this is about Call of Duty. So I think Call of Duty in and of itself is finally in a position where they could properly make the jump, and let it be known that this is probably one of the most anticipated Call of Duty releases in quite some time. Modern Warfare 4 has gotten the community alight with excitement because this next step is probably going to be a more gritty return, return to form for Call of Duty after the sheer just absurdity of the last couple years of Call of Duty and the poor reception of Black Ops 7. This more gritty and realistic take on the Modern Warfare franchise, which is something that people have been wanting and clamoring for a long time, and have cited Battlefield 6 as a key example of sticking to your theme and having a sense of identity and not doing really funny Attack on Titan collaborations or having Nicki Minaj skins and crazy zombie clowns. You get the idea. So this is a great way for them to sort of gain back some of that goodwill and community sentiment overall in a more positive direction, and finally bringing it to the Switch is probably another big step in that direction. And for me personally, I have Game Pass. That's pretty much the only way I've been playing Call of Duty in the last couple of years, because God, I hate buying it every year, and I have got a subscription to it essentially, and I play all the other games on Game Pass. I don't mind waiting a year, but I will be buying it on Switch because it is just the most unique way to play the game. I am a weird person. I like being able to play the strangest, most absurd games on my Switch. I already own Elden Ring on Steam. I don't need to buy it again. I have a Steam Deck and other handhelds that I can play Elden Ring on portably. But there's something about officially playing an official Bandai Namco and FromSoft port of the game on Switch that feels completely different and way more entertaining than playing it on a Steam Deck or something. So I will be buying something like Elden Ring, and I've bought the original Dark Souls. I've purchased many other weird and interesting ports on the basis of when you see it, you don't think that belongs on a Nintendo platform. And Call of Duty is going to be another one to add to the collection. It's overall one of my most anticipated games of the year, actually. I have never been truly excited for a Call of Duty game in quite some time. And hopefully this new Call of Duty on Switch will maintain the same level of performance we anticipate that we get from all the others. This is the first Call of Duty that we're not getting on previous gen consoles though, which is a long time coming if we're being completely honest with ourselves, and they haven't really needed to die because the PS4 and Xbox One were good enough for the vast majority of people and for the vast majority of developers. So it's nice to see that they're finally transitioning away and putting more time and money into making the game run better on the newer consoles, because there is just still, to me, so much headroom that we still haven't truly seen them take advantage of the new generation. And for the longest time, Call of Duty was one of the few, even back during the 360 days, one of the few games that were actually a full 60 FPS, because it needed to be to feel the best when gaming. And so finally seeing a full 60 FPS game, Call of Duty, on Switch would be actually really cool to see. And we're anticipating it should be like that, but I don't know what that might come with in terms of sacrifices. And seeing the adaptation of the mouse mode would also be really cool, because you can already plug in a keyboard and mouse, to my understanding, into like a traditional console and play that way. But that's a bit of a hassle, and a lot of people play in their living rooms, and not so many people actually have the room to even do that. So I don't see that as a very popular use case. But in terms of the Switch, having it built in, all you're realistically needing is the keyboard. You can get one of those left-hand only keyboards that just has like the main bits that you need, and then boom, you're off to the races. And so that could be actually pretty cool to see. If performance absolutely sucks, that's gonna be awful. But I think a more important thing at the moment is getting a proper release date and hopefully seeing it release alongside all the other copies, because at the moment you can actually pre-order all the other copies for all the other systems of the game, but not for Switch 2. It just says coming soon. But I sort of think this is on Nintendo. They sort of require you to do a few other things. There's a few more hoops you gotta jump through, like getting an entire eShop page up and all that, and they just don't have that yet. So I suspect that should be sooner rather than later for them to actually have that up. But hopefully it actually releases on the same day, I think in September or October of this year, which is pretty exciting. I would love to hear what you guys think. Are you potentially getting this Switch 2 version of the game, or are you just gonna buy it on console or PC like everybody else is probably going to do? I'd love to hear what you guys think about this down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media coverage down below. And last, and certainly not least, have a wonderful day.